Molina, thank you for being here, Commissioner. First Deputy Commissioner of the Westchester County Correctional Facility, is that it?
Yes, the Westchester County Department of Corrections.
Mr. Molina, I don't want to introduce you. I want you to introduce yourself to the Westchester or the Yonkers community. Sure. Can you please look at the camera and tell us who you are, what you do, so our community can understand your job?
Absolutely. So, good day. It's great to be here in the city of Yonkers and to be on the show. My name is Molina. I'm the First Deputy Commissioner from the Westchester County Department of Corrections. Myself, under the leadership of Commissioner Spano, oversee the Westchester County Department of Correctional Facility, which is located in Valhalla, New York.
Now, Commissioner, how do you engage with the community? I know that you are on the after the fact.
Sure.
Okay? Things happen, they go to the system, and then they get to your department.
Sure.
Now, it's a very important department because corrections is supposed to correct people.
Mm-hmm.
Does the system correct?
Sure. So community engagement is really our most vital part of helping the people in our custodial care get to a better place. And in Westchester County, we have been for years on the forefront. The county, prior to my getting there, has been on the forefront of making sure that community partners and community resources are available to those that are entrusted in our care to be in our custody. So what does that mean? We bring in community partners, we bring in faith-based leaders to not only engage with our population, but they also engage with our staff, right? So our whole department has created an ecosystem where we really are doing everything we can to help rehabilitate a person to get to a better place. And there's a lot that goes into that. It's a real complex issue.
Now, do you feel like after somebody goes into your care and they are released, they really are recovered, meaning they're getting away from life, or they keep coming back?
Well, in 2018, what we have started seeing, when we took over the department under Westchester County Executive George Latimer, when he appointed us in 2018, we enhanced programming significantly within the department. Because for us, our ideology is that we believe that programming is really the best way in order to help someone get to a better place. And what do I mean by that? A lot of, especially young people that are coming into our system, we see a lot of poverty, we see educational neglect, they have experienced familial incarceration. So those are a lot of complex issues. So for us, programming really had the answer to helping people get to a better place. And what does that translate to us? That means that we lower recidivism. So in 2017, the recidivism rate was about over 28% with people that were coming into the system at the local jail in Westchester County. We lowered that in that was in 2017. In 2018, we lowered that, so now it's hovering right at 22%, so 6% less, which is a good thing. So we are seeing at least signs that what we're doing is having a real impact on many of the people that come into our care.
Now, Mr. Molina, I believe, in my way of seeing, this is a double-faced sword, in the sense you have those great programs that rehabilitate, training, and give them the tools to actually succeed outside once they are released. Now, what about the community? Do you think that the community gives those guys the second chance and employs them?
Oh, absolutely. So with our community partners, one of the things that we do for our population is we have reentry panels. And our reentry panels are chaired, like for example, the reentry panel for Yonkers is chaired by the Yonkers Police Department. And what they do is they meet face to face before the people in our care are released. And they identify some of the challenges that they may face when they are released. Some of that is, like you said, jobs. Some of that is continuing support to deal with issues of addiction, whether that's substance abuse or alcohol abuse and things of that nature. Because we don't want someone, after leaving our structured environment, to fall through the cracks, right? So it's important for us, as we're trying to solve this sort of puzzle of recidivism, that we make sure that the support systems are in place when men and women are released back into the community. And the community is such a vital part of that process, right? Because you really can't have restorative justice without the community being part of the process of not only forgiving a member of their community for having made a mistake, but being able to support them there so that they can be successful.
So do you feel like after somebody is convicted, after that person pays the penalty that the society felt that he needed to pay, do you think that the community or society is fair that they give this person a second chance? Are they forgiven?
Absolutely. I think it is fair because in the reality, 98% of those that are incarcerated are going to come back home to their communities that they came from, right? So it's important to understand and put things into perspective. And I know that this is sometimes a very, very difficult thing, especially for victims of crime, right? And it's important for us that even in our programming, we have programming in place where victims and survivors of crime come and they meet with the people that are in our custody to tell them what it was like for them as victims and survivors. And that's really, really important. So, I would ask the community, and the community's been very, very supportive of us at the jail, the faith-based community, nonprofits. You have to give the men and women that are being released a chance. For many of them, society has been very, very challenging, right? They've experienced a lot of adverse childhood experiences that they've carried on into adulthood. So it's important that if 98% of the incarcerated are going to come home, it's important that the community has a voice and is part of that process, because ultimately that's what's going to help them to be successful.
Now, Mr. Molina, looking at the offenders of today, 2019, and the offenders of perhaps 2000 or the 1900s, 1995s, has the age decreased? Do you see more youth offenders today than you saw youth offenders back then?
What I will say is that on average, approximately 20% of our population is between the ages of 17 and 24. So I don't know what that was like back in the early 1900s. I couldn't tell you because I don't have that information.
We have 1900s, but let's say 1995, 2000. What's the age group back then? And I just want to compare, because today we see a lot of people who are pulling the trigger.
Sure.
15, 16, 17s. Was that way back then in 1995, 2000?
Yeah, well, in the early 90s and mid 90s, you had a lot of sort of proactive enforcement in the communities, right? Especially communities that had a lot of economic challenges, which I think drove up the incarceration rate significantly. So you have seen a trend where incarcerations have been decreasing. That being said, what I can speak to is 20% of our population on average is between the ages of 17 and 24. I'm going to guess and say that those trends are decreasing along with the population decreasing of people that are coming into the system, because there are now more alternatives to incarceration that exist today that didn't exist in 1995. But either way, 20% is still too many, because a lot of these young people, they need to be really given a chance and be able to be focused in order to go on to lead successful lives. And that's what we're trying to do at Westchester County Department of Corrections.
Well, that's reaction after the crime.
Sure.
Now let's talk about proactive. Let's talk about what can we do, what can society do, or what you think is the problem that will prevent those kids even from getting to your programs. Because I think that's the key.
Absolutely. We were fortunate, we partnered with the Nepperham Community Center, the city of Yonkers, the Y here in Yonkers, to put in to be in the My Brothers Keeper grant under the Obama Foundation. And I raised that up because with that grant, a lot of prevention work is going to go into sort of helping not only deter violent youth, but also to grow an opportunity to sort of mentor young people to get to a better place, especially young men of color, Hispanic men. And that grant is going to give us a real chance to show the importance that these young people have older people in their lives that are mentoring them along, in addition to their parents. I mean, today we have, I think, sort of I can say from an observational standpoint, we have a lot more single parents today than we did when I was growing up. When I was growing up, my father worked 2 jobs that allowed my mother to be sort of a stay-at-home mom. I had both my parents in my life. I had my grandparents in my life. And a lot of young people today don't have that. And that's a challenge. So I would implore the community to be as proactive as you can in a young person's life that you know. Some of them may be your nieces and nephews. Some of them may be your neighbors. But it's vital that our young people not only have mentors, but also have navigators in the community to help them make the right decisions for their future.
Now, do you think or do you feel that maybe the structure within the family might be cause of so much crime on the youth?
I don't know. I wouldn't say that it's the structure. I think, young parents, single parents have to do what they can do to help build a home, right? You have single parents that are working multiple jobs, and sometimes they're getting support from a grandparent to help sort of raise the child. But it goes deeper than that, because there are still a lot of communities out there that are dealing with poverty, that are dealing with crime in general. And it's a challenge, and it's unfortunate that we don't have, there's not a lot more structured intervention that's going on to help families get to a better place. I think we are getting there as a society to be more humane, and that'll help us deal with the next generation. They're not making the same mistakes that we might have made as young people did in the early 90s and early 2000s.
No, I've seen a lot, of course there is very good single parents, mothers and fathers that raise their children well, but there is a lot of kids having kids. Those kids themselves did not have the structure or the principles themselves.
Sure.
So how can they translate that to their own children?
It's tough, and we often talk about this, like how do we save the next generation? A lot of it is really we have to save the current generation, right? Because what you're talking about is transferring of sort of adverse childhood experiences to another generation. In many cases, this is, young children that are being born, right? And it's tough because they lack sort of the years of experience and capacity to make good decisions, but that's why it's important, whether it's faith-based leaders or faith-based communities, nonprofits, like the Dept Community Center, that they can help be a resource. A lot of this is really what resources are available to help young parents. With Family Services of Westchester, we have a thing called Navigating Fathers that actually helps sort of educate young fathers on how to be fathers. And many of these young men didn't have father figures in their own lives. So that's why these programs are so important, because they really help someone understand what it takes to be a good parent, what it takes to be a good mom, a good dad. And many of those young people didn't have those examples. So now that we have those types of sort of interventions taking place now, not only inside the jail, but also in the community, you'll get a lot of exponential value out of that when that young person becomes an adult.
Well, maybe you have a secret that I don't know.
Sure.
It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter how many programs we might have in the community.
Sure.
We could have grants for this, grants for that, community teaching this, helping that. But unless we get those young guys in those programs, we are going nowhere. So how can we make those programs attractive enough that we can go to slow bombs or other places or East Yonkers, West Yonkers, whatever? How can we get those kids into those programs? How can we make it attractive?
Yeah. So I think getting the young people there. Once the young people are there, I think that in many cases they'll be attracted to the program. And
once they're there.
Yeah. But this is what makes having community navigators and mentors so important. And what the Obama Foundation and the Dept Community Center mean when they talk about My Brother's Keeper. We need older people, and these doesn't fit, older people, mature people that can help navigate these young people to these programs, because once they're there and they're socializing with other people in their age group, they're seeing other opportunities that exist out in the world, that'll have an amazing transformative effect. So for me, my message is to community leaders, to neighbors, to anyone that has a young person that's in their life, be involved in their life. It's important because you can make a real difference day to day, just interacting. Sometimes it's a few minutes, sometimes it's longer, right? But helping navigate that young person to make decisions where they will not have to face the repercussions of heavy failure. And that's vital.
I guess we need a program called Reach Out.
Okay.
Because, and let me tell you why. I went to the PAL the other day. PAL has a wonderful program.
Absolutely.
Tons of options to keep those kids off the street, because that's where things are happening on the street. So a lot of kids feel like they have no options. A lot of educational programs were cut because of this or because of that. I don't want to get into politics, but the thing is those programs are no longer there. So they go home, instead of going to positive programs like the PAL offers, they go on the street.
Sure.
They're with people that might be doing things wrong, and then somehow they get trapped into the wrong.
Absolutely.
And then they are at your care.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So my concern or my search is, how can we reach? What can we do? The programs are good,
Sure.
but unless they go there, it really doesn't matter.
And you know, we are building that out now with the Dept Community Center under the Obama Foundation grant, right? We are aligning young people with mentors that can help them navigate their lives. And just imagine how the exponential effect that would have when those young people themselves will become mentors to other young people, right? It has a rippling effect, and it is very, very powerful. You know, you're right. I mean, reaching out, recruitment, getting the message out that this is out there. I mean, we live in a different world today than when you and I were both younger, with social media and things like that are going out to sort of target young people. But that same type of approach in recruitment is what we're starting to do now in order to reach those people, that these programs are available for you, and it will be a huge value to them.
Well, you know, I'm a little younger than you. I'm 35, but I remember when I was a child. I had
Sure.
a problem with my friend.
Mm-hmm.
The worst thing that I could do is grab a stick and eat.
Sure, of course.
Okay, go home. By tomorrow, it's all forgotten.
Absolutely.
Today, it's different.
Sure.
Today, you grab something else, you do something, and tomorrow there is no turning back.
Yeah. But I think for you and I, we grew up at a time where I think most young children had a two-parent household. Most young children had parents, because of the economic situation, even if you were in the lower middle class, had time to spend with their young children, where you understood sort of consequences and punishment. And a lot of young people today, unfortunately, because of the economic climate and single parents maybe having to work two jobs, or even if you have both your parents and they both have to work two jobs, don't have that. And maybe being raised alone, you know. It's a tough environment where you expect the child on themselves to be successful. So I get it. We live in different times, and that's why these sort of programmatic interventions, these community groups like the Y or Dept Community Center, become so vital. The PAL with the police department, even SNUG, the SNUG program here in Yonkers, they are such a valuable resources for our young people, because it provides for them an outlet that normally you and I had growing up at home with our own family. They need an extension of that, because their families are trying to live day by day to provide for them, and it's a tough environment.
Now, Ms. Molina, I don't know if you know about the program that we have in Yonkers. I think it's just about to go statewide, called Cash for Guns.
Yes.
How familiar are you with it, and what do you have to say about that?
So I'm familiar with it. I've been involved with city agencies when I worked in New York City that had similar programs like that in Kings County and Brooklyn. I think it's great, right? I think any time where you can get illegal guns off the street, or guns in general off the street, is a great thing, right? A gun is a very powerful tool and weapon. It can cause significant destruction. And whether a young person has it that just isn't aware of the safety that needs to be handled when handling a weapon. But the Cash for Guns program in Yonkers is an amazing program, and I think for every gun that gets turned in, you're literally saving somebody's life.
And that life can be your own.
Absolutely. So I applaud the city of Yonkers. I applaud Commissioner Gardner and the Yonkers Police Department for having that program.
Chief Timothy Hodges.
Yes.
Actually, we just had an interview with Deputy Chief Timothy Hodges,
Okay.
and he told us that 200 guns had been recovered from the street, had been turned in. Those are 200 guns that will not hurt anybody else.
Absolutely.
So to me, it's a plus.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I would be very supportive of any Cash for Guns program in any city. Because like I said, any gun, legal or not in use, that can be taken off the street, it has the potential to save numerous lives. So, absolutely.
Now, Mr. Molina, one last point. Let's connect crime and education.
Sure.
How you connect both?
So what I'll say is that education has proven to be the most transformative way a young person can really redirect their life course. when we started with the department in 2018, the department already had a lot of robust vocational programming. And we have a great education partner in Southern Westchester, BOCES, led under Claudia Murphy and Dr. Darby. And we're neighbors with the Mechanical Hill School District, so the superintendent, Conklin Spillane, who's the superintendent there, she helped us sort of develop, and we came together to really sort of beef up and enhance education. So our academic education, as far as traditional high school assistance to help people pass the TAFE, which was formerly known as the GED, has been hugely successful. But in addition to that, in early 2018, we had our first cohort of a college class at the jail. And our first cohort existed of 4 DOC students and 1 student from the Manhattan College campus. This is all done in partnership with Manhattan College. And it was an amazing, because not only were we showing our young people that they had the capability to do college work, but it allowed them the possibility to understand that anything is possible. We currently have our second cohort right now. It's 18 students. 8 students are from DOC, 10 students are from the Manhattan College campus, and they come to the jail to take an upper division college course once a week, in addition to that, in addition to tutoring. And it is amazing to see sort of our young people be able to transform right before our eyes, and then realize for the first time that they have the capacity and the capability to sort of be a college graduate if that's what they want to do. So we see a lot of educational neglect with with a lot of the people that come into our care. So education really, we have shown within the jail at least, will have a transformative effect on a person's life to be able to get them on a better life path.
And once you get in a better life path, you're crime-free,
yes,
for lack of a better word.
Sure.
Mr. Molina, Luis Molina, First Deputy of Corrections Department. Did I say it right?
Yes, First Deputy Commissioner, yes, yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate. Guys, Yonkers Voice always talking about and getting in touch with people that know the subject, that can help us with what we need to do to stay away or to be on the right path, or just give us suggestions of how we should do, or just to keep us informed of what's going on in our community. Thank you very much, and stay tuned for more. Finished? Okay, that's it.
That's it? Did I do okay?
You did great. My tongue sometimes, I have this whole thing in my mind. As soon as the camera turns on,
Okay, no, I hope I was okay.
So did you say stop?
Stop.
Or don't tell me you didn't even start it.
I pressed the button.
Let's see. Let's see.
We gotta read this.
And then that one,
Did you slide it to stop?
yeah, I went that way and it just started. And then Brian Harfold, I let it ring.